Hey everybody, welcome back, and look who's back.
I'm still alive, somehow.
Rachel is joining us for the final Space Quest game. It's been a while since Rachel's touched Space Quest, and she missed the last two games, so just for the hell of it, we'll do a little recap to get us all ready for Space Quest 6, The Spinal Frontier.
Because we all know the plot is very important in these games.
So, in Space Quest 1, we played Roger Tutu Maker Wilco. See, now you remember his name.
Tutu Maker.
He was a second-class janitor for StarCon. He fell asleep in the supply closet and woke up to find an alien invasion trying to steal a super weapon. He ended up foiling the evil lizard people, the Sarians, from getting this super weapon to conquer the galaxy, and that was the first game.
I remember one part of that.
Then in the second game, we found out that the Sarians were being led by an evil scientist named Sludge Vohal, who kidnapped us, tried to kill us, and instead we foiled his newest plan to take over the world with genetically engineered insurance salesmen and killed him. And blew off in an escape capsule as we blew up his fortress. Then in the third game, our escape capsule got eaten by an automated garbage ship, so we had to put together the aluminum mallard from parts that we found, and then we had our own spaceship.
Pretty sweet deal.
And then we found out that there was an evil software company that was enslaving the two guys from Andromeda. So we went and rescued them and brought them back in time to Sierra so that they could make the Space Quest games. Which is weirdly very much like the ending to Leisure Suit Larry 3. And then Rachel died. It was sad.
No, it wasn't.
It was tragic.
Definitely not sad.
So Space Quest 4, Roger was in a bar boring people with tales of his adventures, enjoying his ship, when his son came from the future. Oh yes, we have Roger here. I'll hold him up to the camera. As with the Leisure Suit Larry, I actually have a little 3D printed Roger now, so he's going on an adventure. Play with him. So Roger's son came back from the future, and we learned that Sludge Vohal had digitized his mind and stored it on the discs for Leisure Suit Larry 4, which were loaded into a computer in the future, and he created the sequel police to hunt for Roger in the past. And then Space Quest 4 was us traveling into previous Space Quest games and future Space Quest games, like the Latex Babes of Eros, which I believe was Space Quest 9. And
69. Nice.
And so we ended up defeating Sludge Vohal once again and went back to our own timeline. And then 5 took a little bit of a turn. Apparently, having saved the universe multiple times, Roger decided to finally make something of his life, and he joined the StarCon Academy to become a captain. It was basically Star Trek.
Okay.
Due to a computer glitch, he passed his captain exam and was given command of a ship that looks like a dustbuster and was a garbage scout. In the process, he found out about Captain Quirk being involved in some illegal dumping of metagenic toxic chemicals. Captain Quirk turned into a giant slime beast in space, and we lost our ship, but got away on his. We blew up our ship to kill him. We also blew up a space station for no reason, because our engineer was in jail, so we filled it with space sea monkeys.
Sounds legit.
Yeah. Oh, and the one plot detail we've forgotten was that our son introduced to us who his mother was going to be, our destined love. Fate says that our one true love is the lovely Ambassador Beatrice Wankmeister. So, we met her in 5, and I'm sure their romance will continue to blossom in 6. I recently learned 6 is a controversial game.
Okay.
I always liked 6 the best. I really think it's the best game. But it turns out, so Scott Murphy and Mark Crow were the two guys from Andromeda. They made Space Quest. Before 6, they had a falling out with Sierra. They left. So Space Quest 6 was handed over to Josh Mandel, who's worked on many things and was the voice of King Graham. I've worked with Josh Mandel. He's actually a pretty cool guy. I like him. And I really like the work he does, which we'll get to as we're playing. But near the end of development for Space Quest 6, Josh Mandel had issues with Sierra, and he left. And Sierra went, well, crap, we got to finish this game. So they got Scott Murphy to come back and just, like, tie up the loose ends and push it out. And then there was an issue where they claimed the whole game was made by Scott Murphy, and that was a problem. But the biggest issue I see is due to that handoff and then rushing it at the end and trying to... There are 2 puzzles in the game that are literally unsolvable.
Awesome.
Unless you use a walkthrough. Because they forgot to put in details that Josh Mandel meant to be in there, and Scott Murphy didn't know that that's what they were there for. And so they turned them at the last second into copyright info and slipped it in the little instruction booklet. Yeah.
Cool. Maybe they just wanted to teach us all a lesson about life.
And that lesson was? No, I want to see where you go with this. You started it.
Life is an unsolvable adventure.
No, you got me there. It's definitely true. So, apparently, Space Quest 6 is not universally loved, and I really thought it was. People are very divided as to whether or not it's any good. So, I guess you'll be the judges.
I'll be the judge.
She'll be the judge. I love it, but I have shit taste.
Yeah.
I mean, look who I hang out with.
Oh. Come on, you're supposed to be nice. I came back.
I meant for the other streams.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Also, we have a dog.
Oh, yeah, my dog is here.
Do you want to come up? I don't think he wants to come up.
He'll show up, don't worry.
So, we're going to go... Oh, hi. And then he runs away. He jumps up on my leg, and then... Okay.
Come here, Morty. Come here. Come here.
This dog better look spectacular after all this build-up.
Look at him.
So, he's our guest reviewer. Space Quest 6 has full voice acting, so you don't have to listen to us do a whole bunch of reading and pretending to do voices.
Thank goodness.
So, that's it. I think we're going to get tucked into the final Space Quest.
We're doing it.
It is the Spinal Frontier. I'm like 90% sure. There were several alternate titles that they almost went with. And I guess we'll talk about those as we play through the game. But I believe it is Space Quest 6, the Spinal Frontier. We'll see you there.